This episode of Dorking Out is brought to you by
The Incom Corporation, makers of the T-65 Starfighter and now the T-70 Starfighter. The more we make, the faster we're free. And
the letter H for Your Highness. As a Brit, you can't say it without sounding regal and self-assured, touching on a tradition stretching back millennia. As an American, you can't say it without sounding like a sarcastic wise-ass. Your Highness.
Houston, flight is go.
Myla, let's go. SPM. Safety contact.
From Assignment X, Amalgamated Storytelling, and thesoniashow.com, it's The Dorking Out Show with Christopher Allen Smith and Sonia Mansfield.
welcome to episode 29 of Dorking Out, a podcast for people who like to dork out about stories and the stories in pop culture we love. That means movies and TV, books and podcasts, and everywhere else you find stories that interest you. This is the We Make the Golden Globes Good edition. With me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker and author of the upcoming novel Jet Jurgens and the Infinity Key, Christopher Allen Smith.
Hello, Sonia.
Hello.
With me today is my co-host, a professional writer and author of the upcoming Sonia show, Sonia Mansfield. On today's show, we are going to be talking about awards and the ridiculous exercise of giving awards to artistic achievements as though they were trophies at the end of a baseball season. You can't score La La Land and Manchester by the Sea like box scores. Totally unrelated, we're going to also talk about the Golden Globes, which were given out last night, and the Writers Guild Awards, whose nominations came out, and how to make the Golden Globes not quite so ridiculous. You're going to love this episode. Then we're going to get to our favorite headlines. So let's get started.
Want more dorking out? Well, there's a few simple things you can do. First, go to iTunes and give us your 5-star rating and review. This helps us find new listeners. Next, be a good friend and share like your mommy told you to. Simply go to dorkingoutshow.com and you'll find some links to our show which you can post to your Facebook, Twitter, or wherever fine social media links are shared. It's an easy way to impress your friends and make your enemies green with envy. Which is really the point of social media anyway, isn't it? After all, listening to any of the Dorking Out shows means that you're a modern trendsetter. We know, because if audience research has shown anything, it's that the Dorking Out show audience is smarter, more attractive, and less susceptible to baseless flattery than any other audience in the podcasting world. That means that you're the best. It's right here, in the data, which is totally real and not made up in any way. So share our show. You can talk about it with your friends, and we can get new listeners, which means you get more shows. It's the circle of life modified to include podcasting. Point is, please rate us on iTunes and tell your friends. Now, back to the show.
Topic 1. The Golden Globes were handed out Sunday night. La La Land won all the awards, but Meryl Streep won the night. We're going to talk about our favorite and least favorite moments of the show and share how the winners affect our Oscar picks because, as I've said on the show before, we take our Oscar predictions very seriously. And then after that, Smith has some interesting ideas on how to make the Golden Globes better. So we're going to start with this. Smith, what did you think of Jimmy Fallon as host?
You know, I was watching the little intro video, and I realized it is amazing the influence the MTV Movie Awards have had on award shows.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I mean, this started with a whole La La Land type music production that touched on movies and TV and all this stuff and had Jimmy Fallon running around and dancing with a bunch of stars. And they made a lot of cute little... I mean, this is the kind of thing Billy Crystal did like 10 years ago.
Right.
And it was fun. But I think the thing for me Ricky Gervais has done it done it several years of the last 10 years. And he's just too acidic, too over the top mean and just whatever.
I think Ricky Gervais is really funny, but the room clearly didn't think he was funny.
Right.
And so it makes the show awkward.
Well, I think he is funny, but I think he's only 70% as funny as he thinks he is.
Right.
And that is always a trait that irritates me about comedians, basically, is if they're kind of misjudging their own level of funniness or laughing too much at their own stuff, which he does. But for Jimmy, the reason I was saying that is Jimmy Fallon is too nice. He's too eager to please. He's too eager to win the room. And it's funny because in the opening,
he's like a Labrador Retriever.
He is. And what was great,
I'm a good boy.
That's
I'm
right.
such a good boy.
Yeah, exactly. And what was funny is in the intro, Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake kind of have a famous, friendship that is started on Saturday Night Live, and it's on display on The Tonight Show a lot. And Justin Timberlake starts to do an impression of him about exactly that aspect, like everything's great and over laughing at stuff, and oh my, that was funny.
Yeah,
I like that. I wish what I wish Justin
bet.
Timberlake.
Okay. Yep.
Is that what you're going to say?
In my notes. I wrote that in my notes too. Why aren't these award shows just asking Justin Timberlake to host?
That is a great question. What did you think of kind of the hosting of tonight?
I'm kind of like about Jimmy Fallon. Like, I think he's fine.
Right.
But I mean he doesn't always make me laugh. I think it's exactly it. Like, I think he's too eager to please, and he kept making these Trump jokes in the show. And I was like, well, you're the guy who had Trump on your show and you like tousled his hair and we're all jokey, buddy with him. And now you're on the Golden Globes acting like, you're horrified or something. So he's kind of on. He's kind of on my list.
So okay, let's not forget then. You also got to put, not Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. You got to put Stephen Colbert on that list. You got to put a lot of people on that list.
Oh, they're all on my list.
Oh, all right. Well,
I just think he's fine. But I really like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler when they hosted.
Yes.
So every time I'm like, we should have them back. But I thought he was fine. I liked the opening number. I thought it was really fun. I liked having Questlove there, but he didn't really get to do anything. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, that seems like a missed opportunity. You got Questlove just standing there.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, there was a moment that I thought, because there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of years about white privilege and all this stuff, and it is an important thing to think about. How different people are treated by society is important to think about. But a lot of it, I think, has turned into kind of self-congratulatory white people talking to themselves. However, there was a moment tonight that it's like, if you have that friend that kind of rolls their eyes whenever you talk about white privilege or privilege, there was a moment tonight that you could point to that. Well, there are probably 50 moments tonight.
Right.
But there was one moment where they come back from commercial and they pull out from Questlove's turntables. And there's Julia Louis-Dreyfus kind of pretending to scratch.
Right.
And she's got this hair pick in her hair. And it's just like, no, knock it out. It's like, hey, it's funny because it's the white lady doing what the black guy does. It's just that whole brand of comedy.
Oh, yeah. I have another one to go with that.
Well, what I was going to say is there's always, in our culture, one of the engines of cool for pretty much our entire history has been black people coming up with either new music, new slang, new ways of looking at things, new artistic formats. It's like they're the leading edge of a lot of the cool things that happened in American culture. And you can always point to when those things are over or done or past, when it's the
Right.
old white ladies that start aping it.
Right.
And when I saw
So you're saying she's ruined DJing?
yeah, actually, you know what? Yes. I feel, and I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's great. She's one of the greatest comedian actresses of our lifetime, but it was just embarrassing. And it's just like, hey, look at me. I'm kind of pantomiming this. It's just, ugh, yuck. Knock it off.
If we're going to talk about white privilege and stupid things that award shows need to stop doing, can they please stop making fun of Sofia Vergara's accent?
Well,
Like, that is the worst. I'm so over it. How long has Modern Family been on the air? Like 5 or 6 years?
I think longer than that. But yeah, maybe
So-
6 or 7 or something. I don't know.
So for 5 to 7 years, a few times a year, they trot her out and they make the same joke about her accent.
Yeah.
I'm so over it. They made her say anal. Isn't that funny? Funny.
I hear what you're saying. I would really wonder if that is her thing. Like if she makes it her thing, because there's an interesting way that I think the Golden Globes kind of and a lot of award shows split up. It's when you see actors or some actors or actresses given kind of set up jokes like the jokes that she had, and then they carry them off, and you can see the hands of the writers on it.
I feel like this is not her thing. I think it's
Maybe
writers' things, but
it could be writers' things, or they're trying to figure it out. I mean, the fact that she performed it leads me to believe that she was at least okay with it. But I do hear what you're saying. Then you have
whether she's fine with it or not. I'm over it. I'm
That's true.
tired.
Yeah.
I think it's a boring, stupid joke that they make every time.
Yeah. But the other thing I was going to say is then you have the Tina Feys, the Will Ferrells, or tonight the Kristen Wiggs and the Steve
so funny.
Carrells, where they just, you can tell we're going to write our own thing. We're going to do our own thing because the show becomes electric, really funny. And all that happened is
The Kristen Wiig, Steve Carell thing was so funny.
yeah, it's like this is what the whole show should have been. And it was is they were presenting the nominees for the best animated short, or I'm sorry,
Best
animated feature. And all they did was they came out and it started like a typical section. Oh, we love the magic of animated film. And what was your first animated film? And they both start telling the story of the first time they went to see an animated feature. And it descends into this really dark, horrible, heartbreaking stories. The links, I'm sure. We'll put the link in the show notes. I'm sure it's up by now. But oh my God, it was so funny. And that's the thing is, you can see when individual performers take control of what they're doing, and when actors just kind of are, they kind of rehearsed yesterday, they showed up today, they said some lines, they phoned it in, they don't care. And it's just it's an interesting way to highlight the difference between people that are really committed to their craft and people who just kind of phone it in, or
Right.
Are these award shows. I would love it if they got to host. I don't know why they keep trying to make actors or quote unquote comedian actors do these things. They should just give it to basically whoever comes out of Saturday Night Live. Like if you're the one.
Well, Jimmy Fallon came out of Saturday Night Live.
Well, what I was going to say is, if you're the number one performer of the last 5 years, you get to. It's your shot. It's your slot. Jimmy Fallon was never the number one performer on Saturday Night Live. Not 1 minute. He is in one of the greatest sketches of all time, and what he's remembered for is for almost screwing it up. I'm talking about Cowbell. I'm talking about how he had to turn his back to the camera to keep from screwing it up.
I thought you were talking about the Debbie Downer one, the first Debbie Downer. He did screw it up.
Yeah.
They all started breaking.
Yeah. So,
but it was funny.
Yeah. So what? Well, okay. Now that we've kind of talked about that, what did you think of the What did you think of the awards and who won and all that?
I was not surprised to see La La Land win so many awards.
Right.
I love it. It's my favorite movie of 2016, so I was happy to see it win. The director, Damien Chazelle,
Yes.
he's 31 years old.
Yeah, I know. Don't remind me.
Okay. Just throwing that out there,
Yeah, no,
that
I
he
know.
looks like he's 13. He's 31 years old, and we've all wasted our lives.
Well, maybe, but you gotta remember, sometimes, these kids just shoot out. He did Whiplash last year, which was,
Yeah.
I'm
By
sorry.
the way, and he co-wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, no, the guys sometimes.
I didn't see that, but I heard it was really good. I thought that's really interesting.
Yeah,
Those
it's
are
pretty good.
some very different movies he's made.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes a director comes along, and they're once in a decade talents, and they just tear it up. I mean,
I would say, yeah.
between Whiplash and La La Land, this guy, we're gonna have to pay attention to him for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20. I mean, even if he falls off and makes a couple of duds in a row, we're still gonna have to keep our eye on this guy because he's fantastic. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, on the TV side, there were kind of some surprises.
Yes.
So I guess a lot of people were surprised to see The Night Manager win so many awards.
Yeah.
Hugh Laurie won, Tom Hiddleston won.
Of course, I haven't seen it, but yeah.
I think it's good. I don't know if it's like it. To me, it's not better than The People versus OJ, but it did win quite a few awards, and of course, all those other people from People versus OJ, they won too. The Crown won.
That's right.
Which you must have been pretty excited about.
Yeah, kind of. I really like it. It's not my favorite thing of the year, but I really enjoyed it, and I do feel pretty happy calling it. Back when we were talking about what's our fall, what movies or what shows are we looking forward to, plucked out this little movie, little series called The Crown, and look what happened now.
Yep.
But I have to say I was a little bummed. Best Actress in a Drama, I called it Winona Ryder. She missed.
I put that in my notes that Winona Ryder didn't win. So there goes your prediction that she's going to win the Emmy.
That's
it's at least in jeopardy.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's probably not, because these are popularity contests, and that's one of the reasons I think they're kind of ridiculous. But yeah, so Moonlight won Best Picture Drama.
I was so glad to see it win something. I honestly, when they gave out that first award and the Best Supporting Actor went to Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I was like, huh?
Oh, that's right.
For Nocturnal Animals.
Which I haven't seen.
I was like, which I haven't seen. But Mahershala Ali. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I pronounced his name right. From Moonlight. He's so good in Moonlight, and he was clearly the favorite to win in that category. And then when someone that I really have never heard of wins, I was like, oh, it's going to be that kind of night. So I was really glad to see Moonlight win the big award.
Okay,
especially kind of over Manchester by the Sea, which I just think Moonlight's the better movie.
Yeah, I need to see I really need to see Moonlight.
That reminds me, where is it? I just somebody tweeted out something that I thought you would really like, so I wrote it down. A writer for the Chicago Tribune and Esquire tweeted, "A reminder that Manchester by the Sea is really just a Lifetime movie, only the reason why it gets praise is because it stars a man."
Maybe. Yeah. 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 I don't get that. Hold on. Let's see. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Wikipedia. I think, you know what? I think you know exactly who this guy is.
Was he the kid who starred in Kick-Ass?
Yes.
Okay.
And he was the kind of the main lead in Godzilla.
I didn't see Godzilla.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. It destroyed your house and you didn't see it. No, I got it. Yeah, no, so this guy was dried paint in Godzilla. This guy, and that's why I was kind of shocked to see him, A, nominated, but B, winning tonight. It was
well, the other thing,
like,
from what I understand about Nocturnal Animals, was he's not even like the best supporting performance in the movie. I think Michael Shannon might be.
Oh, I've heard that, but I haven't seen it yet.
But I haven't seen it, so I'm speaking out of turn. But when he won, I was like, first of all, the Golden Globes, they always like to shock people. That's one of the things they're good at.
Yeah.
But I thought that didn't bode well for Moonlight, so I was happy to see it win.
Yeah.
The top awards, especially because I knew La La Land was going to win everything else.
That's right. So, well, yeah. So Viola Davis, she won Best Supporting Actress.
For Fences.
Isabelle Huppert won for Elle, Best Actress Drama.
I guess I need to see that now.
Which I've heard that's a very, very difficult movie to watch.
Yes, I've heard that too.
So but it's starting to win some stuff. I'm not really looking forward to it. Ryan Gosling won La La Land, La La Land, La La Land.
Emma Stone. By the way, I love that Jonah Hill was even nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy for War Dogs. That makes me laugh.
Which also I haven't seen. Why does that make you laugh?
Because I don't think that movie was that well received, and I'm wondering why he was even nominated. There's probably a lot of other actual, real, like, better performances they could have nominated.
You're right, and that's one of the things is sometimes the Golden Globes likes to try to lead the pack and look to the future, and it's, it does not suffer from one of the problems that we've talked about with the Emmys, which is they get in a rut where they Modern Family's really good in season 1, so we're going to nominate it for season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, that kind of thing. However,
before we start talking about movie, go ahead.
Yeah. However, the Golden Globes are also famous for nominating, kind of log rolling for the studios and nominating people that really don't have any business being nominated, or for the performances that it's just kind of like, why is that there? Like a couple years ago, it was Johnny Depp. Was it The Tourist?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. That's what it was called.
It was kind of a famously panned movie, and then the Golden Globes rolls around, and it's nominated for like 4 things.
Right.
So yeah, that's the thing. Is sometimes the Golden Globes is kind of like a leading indicator for the Oscars and kind of what's coming in popular culture over the next 18 months. But sometimes it's a lot like some of the lesser known awards, like the Teen Choice Awards, which is where they give it to you if you show up. And if you say, what, I can't make the show, then all of a sudden you don't win and somebody else wins.
Yeah, so, you have to go to all the luncheons and meet all the people and have your picture taken. And
exactly.
I will say I thought it was really cool to see Tracee Ellis Ross win for Blackish, a comedy I know you really like. And she's the first Black woman to win in that category since Debbie Allen won for Fame back in like 83. So that's pretty crazy. And then seeing Donald Glover win for Best Actor and seeing Atlanta win for Best Comedy was pretty cool.
Which I've seen, excuse me, a good chunk of Atlanta now. It's good. It's just, I think it's just not for me. It's just one of those things where I see why people like it, but there's a lot of references and a lot of stuff that's it's interested in that are not for me. I wish it was, and I loved Donald Glover like crazy. I've loved him since before he was on Community, but I think he is one of the funniest young guys around. Oh my God, how old must I sound? Anyway,
a young whippersnapper.
That's right. But yeah, so and that is interesting, and they do like to point towards the future, especially in their television things that win for television. Like the Best Comedy Series. I mean, they were the first ones on the Transparent train. Mm-hmm. Last year it was Mozart in the Jungle. Is that right?
That's right.
Which I still haven't seen.
I still haven't either.
And then Billy Bob Thornton won for Goliath, and it's
Which I still haven't seen.
well, one, I haven't seen it. Two, until tonight, I had never heard of it, and I'm a relatively well-versed person when it comes to pop culture. It's like Goliath, haven't heard of it.
You do host a podcast about it.
Exactly. This is a little embarrassing, but what am I going to do? Oh, question.
Yes.
His little dig at Bob Odenkirk. Do you have any idea what that was about? Basically, he said, "Oh, I've had a running feud with Bob Odenkirk, who was nominated in the same category for Better Call Saul since we worked together back in the 40s." Do you have any idea what that was?
They were on the first season of Fargo together. I assume that they're just friends.
Okay, and they're just I figured it was something like that, but I didn't know if there was some other level to it.
Yeah.
So,
if there is, I didn't catch it. I was a little bummed to see, not that it's not a good movie, but Zootopia beat Kubo and the Two Strings for animated feature.
Yeah, I think
Zootopia is a really good movie, but I think Kubo and the Two Strings is a really great movie.
Yeah, I need to see it. Juan Uriarte, who works with me sometimes and was on the show talking about Moana a couple episodes ago, he also told me that Kubo and the Good Two Strings is really worth watching, and I'm realizing as I'm explaining it like this, it's sounding like I'm going to watch it because he recommended it and not because you recommended it.
Yeah. Well, someone else told me it was good, Sonia, so I'll see it.
I'm sorry, but it's true. I mean, no. I will see. Critical mass has been hit. I have to see it because you and he told me to see it. I gotta see it.
I also thought the original score went to La La Land, which isn't a surprise, but I feel like if it was any other year, that might have gone to Arrival. And then the best song, of course, went to La La Land. But in that category, I was like, gosh, any other year, like any of these other songs could have won.
Yeah.
One of them was like the one from Moana. One of them was that Justin Timberlake song that's like super it's catchy as hell. I'm like, any other year, those songs would have won easily.
And it's funny because Dana Stevens, who is on the Slate Cultural Gabfest, actually, during the show, we tweeted back and forth a little bit. She was talking about how City of Stars is not the best song in La La Land. And I, even though I was teasing her back and forth.
That's ridiculous.
No, that's the thing, is I completely agree with her. I love that song. I love it too, but I'm not understanding why 3 or 4 of these in this category of the La La Land songs to be nominated. Why was it this one that got nominated and not, there's several others. I've been listening to that.
Yeah, they could have I don't know why. Maybe they have a thing where they only nominate one song per movie, but the Oscars don't have that rule. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see. Yeah, see, that's more. The thing is they don't have that rule, or they might not have that rule. And I'm sure it was the producers of La La Land that decided this is the one we're going to pick. My question is, why is that the one they picked? There's Another Day in the Sun that was fantastic. Someone in the Crowd, which is fantastic. And then for me, the emotional showstopper, The Fools Who Dream, sung by Emma Stone, which is funny because on the Cultural Gabfest, they kind of particularly teed that one up as a weak That's
spot.
The one that, like, every girl is going to be singing and their to audition for their high school musical.
It is. Think. And I love that song.
But I super love it.
Crazy. Yeah, I do too. But yeah. So
I love them all. I love the one, what's the name of the song where they're what a waste of a beautiful night, what a waste of a lovely night.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I love that one too.
Yeah. No, they're
I've been listening to the soundtrack around the house too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So Dana Stevens, we still love you.
Yeah.
Even though
and before we really move on to other things, I want to say how so awesome Meryl Streep was.
That usually
that's a speech.
See, now that's a speech, and usually I'll admit I really don't like it most of the time when actors or directors get up on their soapbox and start yapping at me, because it really does feel like, Queen Antoinette coming out of the castle to tell the
Right.
rabble what they should think,
Right.
kind of things. But she really put together A to B to C to D. We have to protect journalists because of this. We have to protect the arts because of this. It was fantastic.
Well, and she tied it all into the idea of Hollywood foreign press, like 3 words that, are not the incoming administration's favorite words.
Right, exactly.
Basically. And she had this really great quote where she said, Hollywood is crawling without, first of all, she listed like a ton of celebrities, like where they're from.
Yeah.
So she's like, Emma Stone's from here, and Ryan Gosling's from here, and Ruth Negga is from here, and like all this stuff, and then she's like, Hollywood is crawling with outsiders and foreigners, and if we kick them all out, you'll have nothing to watch but football and mixed martial arts, which are not the arts. And I wrote in my notes, the only thing that would make that speech better is if she ended it with, and that's why I, Meryl Streep, running for president of the United States. I'm like, I would totally vote for her.
Don't count it out. That's another one of these things that has been unlocked in the last year that I kind of wish had stayed locked up, but now the idea of a Meryl Streep or Kanye West or whoever running for president now in a serious way. Not that I'm comparing Meryl Streep and Kanye West, but
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's so of course, Twitter is going to be lighting her up with people who are like, you just shut your mouth. You just, you act and be quiet and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, who's going to be our president? A reality show host. So I think actors are allowed to, they want to say something, they can.
Yeah.
But
I
just think I think Meryl Streep is always awesome. And it was great to see her get that award. I was kind of surprised she hadn't gotten it before, to be honest.
Right.
And then they just show all those clips. And I was like, she's just everything.
Yeah.
She's so awesome.
It's nuts. Like, I think there's a few performers, directors, writers, actors that they're in so much that we A, take them for granted, and B, they're so great that we kind of how great they are falls away. It's kind of like a smell that if you smell it all the time, all of a sudden you don't smell it anymore, kind of thing.
We take it for granted how good Meryl Streep is.
Like if you and one of the ones we've talked about on this podcast is George Lucas. Is he's done all these things and he irritates you in this way or that way or whatever. But then when you step back and simply start listing all the stuff he's done, it's like, oh my God, how is this guy not on Mount Rushmore? And Meryl Streep is the same way. You go, I mean, she has more accolades. She's done more than the next 5 Oscar-winning actresses put together. She's the Michael Jordan or whatever. Or hell, the Michael Jordan is the Meryl Streep of basketball or whatever. I mean, it's insane how much she's been nominated and won. So yeah, it was fantastic. It was great, which makes me feel a little silly about what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because the Golden Globes and the Oscars especially, we'll get to those in a couple weeks, are total ridiculous shams. Actually, I probably should have asked you this before. Is there anything else you wanted to say on the Golden Globes before I burn them to the ground?
No.
Okay, good.
Let's go ahead. Here, I'll hand you a match. Here you go.
All right, so here's the thing. As a 2-time Emmy Award winner, I realize the irony in saying how dumb these awards are, but they are truly ridiculous. Now, that doesn't mean that they're worthless. It just means that the way that they're done, the pitting pieces of art against each other, is just weird. Like, when you look at, let's look at this. Just this year, 20th Century Women versus Deadpool.
Those movies are totally the same.
Exactly. How are you supposed to choose between those in any
And you have to choose
meaningful
wisely
way?
because if you're wrong, then it just means the movie you love is bad.
Exactly. That's the thing. Is the movie, somehow, somehow the one wins, one loses, and somehow the one that wins, even though it's a ridiculous, it's, what's your favorite thing? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or diamonds? It's like, how do you make a choice between those things?
By the way, I would totally pick the peanut butter and jelly
exactly.
sandwich.
That's the thing. But are you hungry or do you need to sell something to get a down payment on your house? What are we talking about here? They're so different. Or like Hacksaw Ridge and Sing Street. How do you make a choice between those?
I go for Sing Street.
Or like, Atlanta or Westworld. Those are two totally different things that are trying to bring something as subtle and nuanced and different as these different types of entertainment and different pieces of art. And I'll say that once you get to this level of filmmaking, this level of television making, every once in a while you actually do get a great piece of art that is produced by that. So I think giving awards, especially to actors, is asinine. Because the other thing is...
But they love it.
They do love it. Because the other thing is, one thing that they almost never do is give an award to an actor in an awful movie. Now, if you're really giving awards to actors, they're going to be giving fantastic performances in not so great movies, but their work is great and they should be awarded, but that never happens. It's people who you have to have, when's the last time somebody won an award for a movie that was not nominated for writing or directing?
Marissa Tomei.
Exactly. And how many years ago was that?
A long time ago.
That's right. It's going to make you feel old how long ago that was. So giving awards for actors is kind of ridiculous, especially once you get to the, like these movies, I think it's like 450 or 500 movies come out a year. So
Christine Lottie was nominated in 1984 for Swing Shift.
There you go.
For Best Supporting Actress. How about that?
There you go.
Does that count?
It counts. Did Christine Lottie win?
But that's even older. No,
right.
She didn't win.
See, that's the thing. The last time somebody's nominated or won. But then you think, okay, 500 movies a year. Movies as varied as Deadpool to Lion to Hell or High Water to Sing Street to La La Land to Moonlight. Once you get up to being nominated, there's 10 movies here. And in the Oscars, there's 10 movies. That's the top 5%. Don't check my math. Or 2%, actually. Yeah, I'm sorry. That would be literally the top 2% are nominated. And then it's the one out of those that they're going to give the award to. So we teased this a little early about how to fix these. They should just, one of the old cliches, and I learned this when I was nominated for an Emmy, so drink again.
Drink.
Getting nominated really, really, really is the honor. That is the important thing. It's when a bunch of people come together and that do this for a living and love this more than anybody. They look at something and they say, this is good enough to get nominated. That is the meaningful chooser. The difference between the one of the top 10 movies of the year and one of the 50 through 60 movies of the year, that's a real difference. The difference between the top 1 and the top 3 or the top 2 and the top 6, there's not a really, then it becomes a question of what are you in the mood to watch, leads you to which is the best movie. So what they should do is they should not have they should not announce the nominations. They should just essentially have a huge stadium where anybody that has any bleeding chance comes. So it would be like that Golden Globes dining room, but there would be 2,000 stars there from every conceivable show. Because here's the thing is, like Donald Glover. Now, he probably thought maybe he'll win, but do you think he expected to be nominated? Do you think, he probably
not.
Exactly. That's the thing, is you have these people that have absolutely no idea that, they're trudging and doing their thing. Or like Mozart in the Jungle before it got nominated the first time. It wasn't even a deep cable show. It was a deep internet show? Amazon show.
Yeah.
Would they expect to get nominated? No. So what you do is you have this huge stadium with everybody from nearly every show would be there. Then say, all right, the show would be kind of a souped up version of the nominating, the nomination announcements where they get up at like 5 a.m. or whatever. And everybody that gets nominated gets to come up and give a speech. And instead of being nominated for a Golden Globe, they would be, hey, you win a Golden Globe. There'd be 5 winners. In Best Picture, there'd be Hacksaw Ridge, Hell in the High Water, Lion, Manchester by the Sea, Moonlight. They all get recognized because they're at that level where they're good enough. And then, who wins for Best Comedy Series? We've had this discussion with the Emmys. Like Jeffrey Tambor, it became kind of a joke. He kept winning and winning.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me in that 3-year stretch or whatever. And in the past, it's been even worse. I think we talked about this before. John Larroquette in the 80s, I think he won 6 times in a row. You can't tell me that there wasn't anyone else in Hollywood
Night Court is really awesome.
That's right. You can't tell me there was no one else in Hollywood that deserved an Emmy during that run. I mean, give me a break. So...
Right.
So everybody that you see on a ballot, for one of these shows would get their award. And what's more is it would be a lot more fun to watch because they would go from 0 to I've won, and they would have to have their stuff ready. Donald Glover would go from there's not
it
not a chance
certainly would be
hell.
a more entertaining broadcast.
Yeah, that's the thing, because a lot of this stuff a lot of these awards, they do engineer because of the broadcasts. And this would be a much, much better show. And then, so first, everybody that is on a typical Oscar or a typical Golden Globe ballot would get an award. Unfortunately, now that I think about it, the telecast would be 5 hours. But
well, it's almost that anyway.
Exactly. Another thing I think they should do is they've and we talked about this, they got to break down new series versus returning series. Because the Emmys get in this rut, the Golden Globes don't get in this rut with who wins, but they do kind of get in this rut with who's nominated, where they kind of nominate similar shows or similar dramas. You know what? I was just going to tee off on them for nominating the same stuff, but when I look at TV drama series, every single one is new except for Game of Thrones.
Right.
You know what? I'm going to step back. Golden Globes are kind of doing it right a little bit. It's the Emmys and the Oscars that are falling down.
Yeah.
So the Emmys should have an award for Best New Series and then an award for Best Returning Series. Because in a way, there's a reservoir of love, a reservoir of shared experience and remembered stories and deeper storytelling that you get with season 2, season 3, season 4 of a drama that you don't get right off the bat. Almost every television show is kind of the first couple episodes.
It's a great way to bring in some new blood.
Right. Exactly. But here's the other thing that they could do that I think would be really interesting. So you have Best Picture drama, Best Picture comedy, Best Television Series Drama, Best Television Series Comedy. Then you have Best Story of the Year, where Best Pictures, all the Best Picture nominees and all the Best Television nominees compete for like one award. You know, because in years past, you like the season of The Sopranos, the last season of The Sopranos, or the last season of Breaking Bad, I'm sure were better than whatever won Best Picture.
Yeah,
that
but
year.
you know what? I bet a movie would always win.
I don't know now. Like, let's look at this. Let's, well, this year might not be. You know, is Game of Thrones better than Moonlight? Or is, you know, Atlanta better than, well, you know. Yeah, all right, so maybe this year. But I think in a lot of years, television would give movies a huge run for their money. And I think it'd be interesting. So, like, the ultimate Golden Globe, Best Achievement in Storytelling, combines all TV categories and all movie categories.
Well, maybe we need to make up our own award show.
I think
we could give out the dorky.
Well, we kind of did when we did our favorite stories of the year.
Yeah.
But I think you might be onto something. I think we got to do something.
All right. I'm into it.
I'm going to be back here in 3 or 4 weeks when we start talking about the Oscars, and you're going to get part 2 of this rant. So look forward to that. I think
Consider yourself warned, everybody.
The Oscars are particularly bad when it comes to recognizing great artistic achievements. So anyway, with all of that said, is there anything else you would like to say about the Golden Globes tonight, Sonia?
No, I think I'm good. Let's move on to topic 2.
And another thing.
Topic 2. The Writers Guild nominations were announced last week, and because we take our Oscar picks so seriously, I don't know if you've heard that, we need to talk about them. Also, we needed a topic 2, so it seems like a good place to put it. Normally, when you see like Producers Guild nominations or the Actors Guild nomination, things like that, they'll probably be under favorite headlines, but we went ahead and put it in topic 2.
And because, actually, I just realized this, Sonia.
Yes.
Writers is where it all begins in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Every project starts with a writer getting an idea.
And we like to talk about stories.
We like to talk about stories, and this is where it all starts. And typically, the best written movie, if you want to watch really the best movies of the year, watch the ones with the best original screenplays nominations.
Yeah.
All right, Sonia. Sorry.
I agree with that. So there were a couple of, I'm not going to just sit here and like list all the things that are nominated, but there were a couple in here that I thought were really interesting from a story perspective. Because I think when people think of writing and scripts and things, they think dialogue and they don't think story. And what I thought was really interesting was one of the nominees animation category is for BoJack Horseman, which is a show I really love. I know you haven't watched yet. And they did an episode called Fish Out of Water. And it's about BoJack Horseman, who's a horse. And it's an animated show where he is going to a city, a film festival that's underwater to promote his movie. And so it's underwater. So he's wearing like a bubble around his head, and he can't really talk, and he doesn't really understand anyone. So most of the episode is actually silent. You know, I think there's music, but there's no dialogue. And I thought it was very cool that it was nominated for a writing award when it doesn't have any dialogue, really.
That's cool. I'll have to check it out because I actually did watch the first 3 or 4 BoJack Horseman's on your recommendation. And
did you like it?
It's all right.
Oh, I really love it. That surprises me that it would get a meh for me.
Well, that's the thing is I like it, but there's a lot of shows that are basically a washed up narcissistic actor making his way through Hollywood. That's a town of washed up and or cutthroat narcissistic directors or agents or actors or whatever. So the ground that it covers has been covered in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
But it could just be for me, and it could just be I'm living in this weird bubble that we've talked about from time to time, which is if something isn't great and isn't gold right out of the gate, it's like, oh,
Right.
you're out. Like, actually, I'm going to say this, and then we'll get back to what we're talking about. One Day at a Time. Have you seen that it's come back? It's rebooted. Norman Lear's One Day at a Time
No.
on Netflix. It's kind of centering around a Hispanic family.
This is totally news to me.
It's totally news to me because I think like 2 weeks ago I heard, hey, yeah, this might be a thing. And then today I turned on Netflix. Boom, season 1 is there. So it's like, wow, look at this. All right, I'll give it a shot. 1 minute and 21 seconds I got into it. Norman Lear, one of the greatest television producers in the history of the medium, his new show had me for 1 minute and 21 seconds, and I'm pretty sure 30 to 40 seconds of that was the intro song. And no, it was out. So, point is, BoJack Horseman. I'll probably watch some of these nominated ones, or I'll probably ask you for
You know
some
what?
really good ones.
I would definitely watch Fish Out of Water.
I'll watch that one, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
sorry.
I think you would.
It's a huge tangent. I really apologize.
It's okay. I think you will like this. Under episodic drama, like Better Call Saul is nominated like 3 times.
That's right, it is.
That's pretty cool. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is nominated several times. And that's a show that I super love.
Yeah.
And,
What is
and
One
then of course,
Mississippi?
and this is one of those things that I think is really weird when they give awards to award shows.
Yes.
So like the Emmy Awards, the Golden Globe Awards, the Academy Awards are all nominated for like comedy variety award tribute specials. Like none of those have great writing. That seems weird to me.
Right. Wait.
But by the way, there's one more in here. Triumph, the primary election special, is in here.
God, I hope that one wins. That's
I was
got to
like-
win, right?
I'm like, come on, that's the only one that actually has good writing, right?
Yeah, that's the thing is one of the way they do this with a lot of Emmys, mainly with regional Emmys, is they have so many categories that the chances of you getting nominated somewhere if you enter are actually much, 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 much higher than you would think. And if you look at this, yeah, nominations for comedy and variety, music, awards, tributes, specials. 68th annual Primetime Emmys, 73rd annual Golden Globes, 88th annual Academy Awards, and Triumph. Triumph has got to win that.
That's awesome.
It's got so anyway, yeah. I hope Triumph wins.
So the movies on the list are, I mean, these are like top movies. I mean, we're talking Hell or High Water, La La Land, Loving, Manchester by the Sea, Moonlight,
right.
Arrival. This is one of the ones I love right here. Deadpool.
It's pretty well written. It's pretty good.
Fences, Hidden Figures, and Nocturnal Animals. I mean, this is a good list of movies here.
But
I'll be very curious to see like how close the Oscar nominations are to these nominations.
Yeah, I would. And that's one of the reasons that we're talking about these is because movies that win these Writers Guild, Producers Guild, Actors Guild awards are really good leading indicators for what's going to win in certain categories. But actually, this highlights one of the things I was talking about in the previous section. I watched Fences by one of the great American playwrights, August Wilson, directed by Denzel Washington, which is a great movie. It's really good, fantastic acting. The idea that August Wilson is competing against Deadpool is just so weird. Now, I like Deadpool. I really like Deadpool, and the writing especially is fantastic. So they should win something for that. But August Wilson is talking about the many layers laid down over the past 500 years of African American experience in the United States, on this continent, and he boiled that down into his playwriting, and the idea that he's competing, that Deadpool is in anywhere the same league as him is just bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
So, yeah. They both deserve awards. They should both get awards. Everybody gets an award.
Everyone gets a participation trophy.
No, they don't. That's the thing. If you one of you 15th best movie of the year, you get nothing. 20th best movie, get out. You're worthless. Beat it. 50th best movie, don't even show up. But if you're the top 10, they're all good movies. They're all probably great movies. Saving Private Ryan and Shakespeare in Love both deserve Oscars. So, anyway, sorry.
Which one do you think will win original screenplay? What's your pick?
I gotta say, well, I haven't seen Moonlight and I haven't seen Loving. And for those of you counting at home, that doesn't mean that I don't like black people. It doesn't look good, I admit.
I didn't even put it together, but now that I see it, I know you don't like black people.
Now that I pointed it out, it's glaring and obvious. No,
I would like it noted that I have seen Moonlight, and I actually am going to be seeing Loving.
Actually, now that I think about it, I just went on a 10-minute rant on defending August Wilson against Marvel. So you know what? I think I'm all right. Anyway, I think I'm going to have to say La La Land. But
yeah.
Hell or High Water was really well written. One thing I don't want to see win is Manchester by the Sea, because boy howdy, the writing in that, no, sorry.
It's so interesting.
No.
I feel like Hell or High Water, La La Land, or Moonlight could win this category. I feel like La La Land will probably win, but maybe not, because maybe when people think of it, they won't really think of the screenplay. They'll just think of the songs.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, that is one of the things
and
I love about it.
And if that's true, then I think it's going to be Moonlight or Hell or High Water.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's the thing is...
Actually, it probably could be Manchester by... Damn it.
Oh,
I'm all over the place.
I really hope not. Because that's the thing about La La Land and why I really love it beyond it just being a musical that's fun and delightful. To quote my... cousin Ryan Nice, who says it was delightful. He was totally right. La La Land is really a nice, sophisticated romance of what it really is like to fall in love with somebody and maybe fall back out of love and have problems, even though you still love them. Life happens.
Yeah,
so,
I think I wrote about this on my blog about one of the things that La La Land means to me anyway is it really is about those relationships you have in your early 20s, kind of your formative years.
Right.
That the relationships that help you figure out what you want and help you become the person you're going to be. Mm-hmm. And those, relationships, how sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't.
Right. Exactly.
And I think there's more to La La Land than just, being a beautiful musical. I think there's a really lovely story there.
Definitely.
But I wonder if when it comes time to vote, will people remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really fashionable. And this is one of the reasons that I'm irritated by the Oscars is, a movie comes out that everybody loves. And simply because everybody really likes it, there's a section of Hollywood, a section of the critical community that just likes to take a bat to stuff that everybody really enjoys. It really is kind of a killjoy, crabs clawing each other down back into the bucket kind of reaction. And I'm hoping that La La Land doesn't get nailed by that.
I think it's going to happen starting probably in the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, I hope not. So, yeah. So,
what do you think under adapted? And then we'll move on.
Adapted. wow. Yeah, Hidden Figures I saw. That's actually pretty good. I wouldn't say it's great. Fences, Fences touches on so much. Margot, oh, hold on, sorry. Fences, probably. Nocturnal Animals. That's the other thing is when it comes to the Oscars, there becomes an aspect of, especially after the Oscars So White protests
I
last year.
I feel like Fences has got the upper hand here because it's got August Wilson.
Well, that's the thing, is I feel like it has the upper hand because of August Wilson and because Hollywood is essentially a liberal town that likes to think of itself as progressive. So, hey, look at what we're doing, people. We're giving the award to the black guy. That's something that's pretty rude to say, but I think
you don't think it's the best adapted screenplay?
No, here it is. I think it probably is the best adapted screenplay, but there is definitely a contingent in Hollywood that doesn't think about what's really the best. They think about what will it be like when we give this person the award. And that's how a lot of Oscars kind of turn into lifetime achievement awards. Like Al Pacino didn't win for The Godfather, he won for Scent of a Woman, and in that year after he hadn't been nominated for so long, he finally got nominated again. It was finally the town's chance to give him an Oscar. Right. So they gave him an Oscar for that. So there is a what does Hollywood imagine itself giving the award to aspect to how they give these awards out, which is, not having anything to do with art. So yeah. And actually, adapted screenplay.
I feel like Fences will probably win, but I would probably pick Arrival.
Maybe.
That's what I would maybe give the award to. Although I need to see Hidden Figures.
It's good. It's not, I wouldn't say I think it's the lesser of these movies. It's a pretty conventional civil rights. It's a relatively conventional, relatively beat by beat civil rights type story, but it also, it's true. So that's always.
I should be seeing that one probably this weekend. So,
cool.
I'll report back.
Excellent. Drama series. What do you like?
Let's go under drama series.
So it's The Americans, Better Call Saul, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, and Westworld. Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Game of Thrones.
Yeah, maybe. We really have to see The Americans.
I know.
Sweet Christmas.
I mean, I think for me personally, I would go between Game of Thrones and Stranger Things.
I'd go Game of Thrones.
I see them going Game of Thrones.
Yeah, probably. I like Westworld, but it's so cold. All right. Comedy series: Atlanta, Silicon Valley, Transparent, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Veep.
I think they're going to go Atlanta.
Probably.
But I really liked Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I thought it was really, really funny.
I need to see it. I need to watch it. All right.
Well, don't listen to me because I'm the one who told you to watch BoJack Horseman.
No, I'm not. It's not your fault. It's kind of like Atlanta. It's just not for me. It's just, I see what everybody else likes about it. I understand why everybody thinks it's so good. And it probably deserves all the plaudits it's getting. It's just not for me.
Got it.
All right. So, decode all of this. And then, actually, when do the Oscar nominations come out?
I can tell you that in 1 second.
And while Sonia researches on the internet live, while we record this podcast, I'm going to remind you to please go to iTunes, give us a rating and a review, and tell us how much you like us, because the higher we're rated, the more reviews we get, the more people get to see the show and enjoy it. If you don't like the show, you know what? You got other things to do. There's a lot of things you got on your to-do list. Hit some of those. We're sure you'll remember next week to do whatever you have to do. And then you can go to the iTunes store and give us a one star and give us a horrible review. Or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm sure you'll get back to it. Don't worry about it. point is, if you're going to give us a 5-star review, do it now. 1-star review, I'm sure you'll get to it.
Point is, Oscar nominations are Tuesday, January 24th.
So what about?
So
we're
gonna have to do a special bulletin.
That's right. All right. So here's what we need to do. We need to take this conversation off the air because who cares about our scheduling? Next up, our favorite headlines.
Oh, is this one me too?
We're prepared. That brings us to our favorite. No, that's okay. I'll do it. That brings us to our favorite headlines. Sonia Mansfield.
Yes.
Have you picked out a favorite headline from this past week?
Believe it or not, I have. I am prepared.
Not sure I do believe it, but all right.
So
I'll trust you.
My favorite headline of the week was that the CW basically renewed pretty much every show on their schedule. So Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Jane the Virgin, and Supernatural were all renewed for another season. And I wanted to mention this because I'm fascinated that Supernatural is still on the air.
How long has it been on the air?
It has been renewed. This will be its 13th season.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
I guess.
I remember watching like the first 1 or 2 episodes of that show and being like, it's fine, whatever. And like, I never watched it again. It has a rabid fan base, and now it will have been on for 13 seasons.
Wow. So you watched
it is the longest running show on the WB and the CW.
Wow. So you watched it, and then you said, you know what, that's enough. Let me switch over to the ongoing coverage of the Iraq invasion. Is that what happened?
Pretty much. That doesn't sound like me because I would never watch that. But
that's right.
I was
you got to be mad at something.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm going to watch Bachelorettes in Alaska. I'm going to switch this off because I'm going to watch Joe Millionaire.
Actually, you know what? No, what you could have done is said, you know what? I don't think I want to watch Supernatural. I've got to catch up on season 2 of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
That's
fine.
Yeah. So
that's good.
That's an interesting, these renewals so it's basically comic book, chick
musical,
show,
soap opera.
Music, chick show. And then I guess is Supernatural. That's kind of, is it a chick show?
It's kind of a chick show. It stars 2 hot dudes.
See, yeah.
It's got a pretty rabid, like, female fan base, from what I understand.
And I understand I'm being kind
There's
of
a lot
snot.
of ladies that dork out about Supernatural.
That's right. And, well, you know, here's a little known secret. And Star Trek nerds, a certain contingent of Star Trek nerds are going to hate me saying this, but this is definitely 100% true. And the ladies know what I'm talking about. Women saved Star Trek. It was largely female fans that got Star Trek back on the air. And if you were to do a breakdown, there's this idea that, oh, you know, fan bases are all men, especially nerd fan bases are all men, and there's no women around, and they're virgins and whatever. The gender breakdown for the Star Trek female fandom is insanely higher than you would think. It would not surprise me to find out that the majority of Star Trek fans are women. So,
it's probably true.
That is apropos of absolutely nothing.
What is your favorite headline of the week?
My favorite headline of the week is the future of Star Wars is being decided this month.
What's happening?
Star Wars, they have a thing called the Story Group, which is, you know, I think it's like J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy, and then some of the directors that are in it, and then also people in Lucas Publishing, where they essentially get together and figure out where is the story going. They kind of, basically, it takes like 10 people to do the job that used to be done just by George Lucas. And say what you want, but George Lucas, from his brain, sprang the entire Star Wars universe, so I'm done taking crap about him telling awful stories. But anyway, they are getting together, and they were planning this before Carrie Fisher passed away. They, the first movie of the Skywalker trilogy has come out. The second movie of the Skywalker trilogy has been shot and is getting put together. The first standalone Star Wars movie has come out, and they see how that's performing. So they had already scheduled a meeting in January to essentially decide, all right, what are we doing over the next 5 years or whatever. They did this kind of way back. Let's see, episode 3 went along through a major rewrite with Johnson, who had to overhaul his script. Actually, yeah. So here's the thing. They're also deciding what's going on with Carrie Fisher, and this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, the Heat Vision blog. Leia could be written out and her scenes reshot. Options not unheard of in the Star Wars universe. Rogue One went through a major overhaul and was met with glowing reviews at the box office. Episode 8 also went through a major rewrite with Rian Johnson, who's directing it, or directed it, who had to overhaul his script after he saw the significant changes J.J. Abrams made to the overarching Star Wars story thanks to his extensive post-production work during The Force Awakens. Johnson had based his script on Force Awakens early drafts. So essentially, this group figures out what they're going to do. And one of the questions that Kathleen Kennedy mentioned about a month ago when she was doing promotions for Rogue One is, there's a chance they might not, they're going to wrap up this trilogy of the Skywalkers. They're called the saga films now. And then that'll be it. Then they'll just do Star Wars stories.
Which sounds really cool to me.
Which could be cool. I still think that there's a place for the Skywalkers, or at least saga films where they're connected in a trilogy-like way. But I don't know. We'll see. What do you think? Do you think they should... I think we talked about this on the Pop Show, but I'm not sure we've talked about it here.
I have mixed feelings. I have mixed feelings about it. I think it's too soon for us to have a digital Princess Leia, or I guess a general Leia, if you will.
Right.
In these new movies. Like, it's different when it's Peter Cushing and we're talking like 30 years later.
Yeah. And
to Carrie Fisher, which we're talking about, like, by then it'll be like a couple years later.
Yeah.
It feels wrong. But then I'm like, well, she'd probably be fine with it.
Yeah.
She'd probably think it was kind of funny.
Yeah. And she knows all these people that are making these movies. She's in this new trilogy. And it would be weird, we don't know what's going on in Rian Johnson's episode 8. It would be weird if they were building the story to have a climax between son and mother, having Kylo Ren murder his father, murder Princess Leia's ex, and then not to have a moment between Kylo and Leia that would be weird.
Well, that might happen in 8. We don't know.
It might. And if it's happened in 8, great. But if it hasn't happened in 8, that would just be truly bizarre.
Yeah.
Because one of the things
I realize, from a storytelling perspective, like, I understand, like, the need for maybe something like that. But then on, like a human level, I'm like, it doesn't feel right to me.
I think for me, on the human level, it doesn't seem right if it's done in a Fred Astaire selling vacuum cleaners kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But there's a famous Fred Astaire. There's a famous vacuum cleaner ad from a couple years ago where they digitally put in Fred Astaire dancing one of his routines with a vacuum cleaner instead of a person. So I think that would be weird. But for a storytelling point of view, I think, especially if they have the rights, or if they have the permission of her next of kin, I think it would be, honoring what she's done. I think it would be respectful. And the other thing is, people talk about this thing with Peter Cushing. It would be very weird to tell the Rogue One story without Grand Moff Tarkin's character being there. And especially, I think his character kind of was essential to telling the Empire's story and kind of revealing, what a horrible working environment that was.
Right.
What a horrible, weird. It was like another layer of evil. Not only does the Empire blow up planets and murder millions of sentient beings, they also have some of the worst corporate culture that we've ever seen on film.
Yeah. There's
which is interesting.
I was listening to F This Movie, their podcast, and one of their co-hosts, JB, was talking about, I think it was JB, was talking about how Peter Cushing actually was bummed that George Lucas had killed off Tarkin and that he couldn't be in more movies. So they were theorizing that he would actually be really happy to be like that they found a way to put him in more movies.
Yeah.
Because he felt like he wanted to do more.
Yeah.
And from what I've read about Carrie Fisher, she really was like an advocate for Leia. And
Right.
like Leia would never do this. She would say it like this. She had a lot of say in the way that character turned out and how she behaves and what she does. And because she's so protective of Leia, I would think that maybe she would want them to like bring her story full circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one way to look at it. I don't know. I feel morbid and weird even talking about it, to be honest. But
yeah, I hear you, but
this is also someone who, had herself cremated and she's now in a like giant Prozac pill urn.
That's right.
So I think she's got a pretty good sense of humor.
That's true. And that is the other thing that I think really irritates me with a lot of these tech writers on the web is Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher were actors. They were performers. They were in this business. They knew what this business is about. It's about getting your face out there. It's about getting your work out there. It's about creating characters that people love and conveying them. One of the things that Meryl Streep said tonight at the Golden Globes is acting is about showing empathy for other people. It's communicating empathy for humans from one human to another by letting us experience other people's lives through the performances of these actors. And we see a lot of hand-wringing, but I don't think Peter Cushing or Carrie Fisher would be among those hand-wringers given what will probably be happening with these. If they were, ending up like Audrey Hepburn in a chocolate ad, or like we said, Fred Astaire if it's an ad and it's crass and it's not what they would do, probably, that's one thing. This is their work. I am sure if Peter Cushing were, 101 years old now, but still had the ability to kind of walk around, I'm sure he would have said, put the digital prosthetics on me. I'll play myself 30 years younger and let's go. I'm sure he'd be ready to go. And I'm sure Carrie Fisher would not want them to just write Leia out because of what happened. And this is a slight spoiler, but I'm going to let you know. We're going to let everybody know. Spoiler sound. It's come out that there are essentially two important scenes left in these last two movies, and it's not clear which or either of these scenes is in Episode 8. One of which is Leia being reunited with Luke, and Leia being reunited with Kylo. So we don't know. It's probable that both of those things did not happen in Episode 8, but who knows? We'll see. So
yeah.
All right. So with all of that, Sonia Mansfield, is there anything that you would like to say?
I'll just say goodbye.
Bye!
The Dorking Out Show is on Twitter @DorkingOutShow. where you can find Chris at Jet Jurgens and Sonia at The Sonia Show. You can read about Sonia's random adventures at thesoniashow.com and track the slow and creeping progress of Chris's novel and his other hijinks at jetjurgens.com. You can find out more about the Dorking Out Show at dorkingoutshow.com. While you're over there, you can support us by giving us a review on iTunes. We have a handy-dandy iTunes link to whisk you right back to 2007, where you can leave your review and 5-star rating in iTunes. We'd do it for your podcast. Want to dork out even more? Well, you can sign up for our newsletter, where you'll get all the headlines we use as fuel for the show. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening.